Hello and welcome to the Starting Out webinar on preparing students for exams. How you can help your students get the best possible results. What will you be getting in the next 10 minutes or so? You're going to get the benefit of my experience of 40 years preparing students for exams and 35 years of marking, setting, reviewing public examinations. I'm going to talk primarily about GCSE maths, but the ideas that follow also apply to AS and A2 examinations, and for that matter, any other examinations. There are, I think, 6 key ideas that, if you put them into practice, will help your students do better. Let's start with the first key idea. Students must be taught the topics in the examination specification. If they don't cover the difficult ideas at higher level, if they haven't met sine and cosine rule, they're not going to score well. And I've marked many exams where students have written on it, we don't do this, we haven't done this, we've never been taught it, usually followed by a derogatory remark about their teacher. Obviously students do forget things, but you must ensure your planning is such that you will have taught as much of the specification as possible. Similarly with foundation candidates, while a lot of time you'll spend ensuring they know the basic ideas and can get the easy topics right, they've also got to be taught the area of a circle or Pythagoras' theorem so that they can at least attempt those questions. So that's the first key idea, making sure the students have been taught all the topics in the exam specification. The second key idea, once you've taught the topics in the specification, it's essential that students practice those topics at exam standard level. Your job is to go through past papers and to find questions that are suitable, and at the end of each topic give them questions from those past exam papers. Similarly, at various stages through the course, you need to give them past paper questions to ensure they stay at the level that they're expected to be at. So that's the second key idea. Practice, practice, practice at exam standard questions. The third key idea. When you've finished teaching all the topics, you're obviously getting into revision. Your revision must be planned. Devise a calendar and a schedule and give a copy to your students so that they know what to expect, so that they know you're behind them. And that calendar and that schedule must say what topics will be revised when. It must identify the past papers that the students are going to do and that you're going to mark, and so that you can identify the errors and the misunderstandings your group of students have, and more importantly, you can then address those errors and misunderstandings. Similarly, when you've marked their papers, make them aware of the grade that they are achieving. Where are they then? And equally, tell them what they need to do to get a better grade. You will know the topics, you will know the ideas, they must be told by you. So the third key idea, planning your revision to cover everything so that the students' success, confidence and, most important, ability develops and they reach their potential for the examination. The fourth key idea, this is where you've got to do some work. Make sure you know where students go wrong and how they can improve. The exam boards publish a vast amount of material, and probably the most important of that are the mark schemes and the examiners' reports. The mark schemes tell you how examiners mark their work, so that even if a student doesn't get everything right, they can score part marks. And the examiners' reports identify where students in previous years have gone wrong. If you know the sort of mistakes your students are going to make, you can help them prevent those mistakes. Make sure the students know about method marks, the need to show they're working clearly. So the fourth key idea is you doing your homework to make sure you're aware of the common errors so that you can tell your students how to avoid them. The fifth key idea. Exams these days have open-ended, unstructured questions. Difficult to find the maths. Your students must have practiced such longer, unstructured questions. There's a big difference between a simple solve this equation and a word question which needs an equation to be devised and then solved. So you must ensure that you train your students to read the questions so they can decide what they're being asked to do, what is the maths they've got to use, and help them have the confidence to tackle these longer unstructured questions, which I have to say in many cases with many candidate scripts are left blank. The fifth key idea then, practicing longer unstructured questions. The sixth key idea, ensure you cover the small points that make a difference. Make sure the students have developed their exam technique. Make sure they can all use their calculator properly. Many foundation candidates can only use them for the 4 operations and possibly square roots. Most foundation candidates can't use the fraction button, the power button. Similarly, at the higher level, make sure they can use their calculator for standard form. Make sure they use the aids that are available and allowed in examinations. And the particular example I give you there is tracing paper for rotations and reflections, which makes questions on those ideas much easier than trying to do them without those aids. Make sure all the candidates, but particularly the higher tier candidates, are familiar with the formula they need for the examination. Make them aware that those that they are given at the front of the examination paper are there to help them. They don't actually have to learn the quadratic equation formula. However, there are some formula, particularly the formula for circles, that foundation and higher candidates must learn. So your job is to make sure they do learn. Ensure your candidates understand and act on the idea that if a question says, show you're working, they'll get 0 if they do not show they're working. If a question says, explain your answer, give a reason for your answer, the candidates are expected to write something, and again will score 0 if they do not. At the foundation tier, ensure your candidates are confident on metric and imperial conversions, and conversions within the metric units as well. Also, ensure they know the mathematical terms that are going to be used in their questions, such as expression, equation, and identity. For example, 3 terms that many candidates often confuse. So that's the 6th and final key point. Make sure your candidates have got the best possible exam technique and are secure in actually answering the paper. Ensure they know where their working is to be done in the examination. And that if a candidate says if a question says you must show you're working, they will score 0 if there's no working. And if a question says explain your answer, give a reason for your answer, they'll score 0 if there's no explanation. At foundation level, ensure they know about the metric imperial conversions and the names of all the various mathematical terms, shapes, ideas such as expression, equation and identity. So that's the 6th key idea. Make sure your students have mastered and have a good exam technique. So, let's summarise what we've talked about today. Plan the course and teach the whole specification. Make sure students practice at the standard expected using past examination questions after each topic and at regular stages through the course. Plan your revision so that old topics are revised and past papers are done regularly so that students reach their maximum just at the time they're doing their exam. Use the examiner's reports to become familiar with the common errors and misconceptions and make sure your teaching addresses those common errors. Ensure the students have experienced and know how to tackle longer unstructured questions. Very important with the demand for functional maths these days. And finally, develop an exam technique. Ensure they can use their calculator. Make sure they read the questions carefully and know the essential facts. Put into practice these 6 ideas and I'm quite sure your students will do better. Thank you for listening.